Hello, everybody. We are live. We're just waiting a traditional 30 seconds that we have to wait for Instagram to
Instagram.
catch up with us. Yes.
Mhm.
And when it does, we will start the show.
Mhm.
It's so nice to be here on Friday, my favorite day. Okay, so
Mhm.
we are now live on
Is it your favorite day because we're doing our podcast today?
No, I mean, it adds to it. Sorry, everybody. No, that's not why. It's been my favorite day since as long as I can remember, like since childhood. And I think it's rooted in that Friday always felt most exciting to me because it was the longest amount of time until you didn't have structure or obligations again. Friday at 2
Mhm.
p.m. or 2:30 or whatever time I ended school felt like the most freedom, because then Saturday,
Mhm.
a little less time. And then Sundays, the Sunday scaries. That Sunday was my least favorite day of the week, even though I was
Mhm.
off. And I liked Friday more than Saturday because I could enjoy it the most.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that probably almost everyone would relate to you on that.
And it remains true now, even though I don't have a traditional 9 to 5. There's something about Friday that I'm just like, oh, Friday. And now I try to reserve it. I try not to schedule anything. After this, I have a yoga
Mhm.
class and I don't really do anything else if I can help it, so.
Nice. Nice. So, welcome
Welcome.
to Hot Mess Life Coach.
Yes. Okay. Well, we are here. Season 6, episode 4. We're going to talk about the fear of failure today. And Morgan is going
Mhm.
to live coach me a little bit because I have some fear around some topics all around this. And we'll get into that in a little while. But before we
Mhm.
do, we just want to sort of unpack a little bit more what we mean by the fear of failure, what it is, how you can approach it in your own life, how you can recognize it, and then how you can shift from it. And we'll sort of practice that in front of you and publicly learn together.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So, Brian, what is fear of failure?
Failure, the definition I have is for failure.
Oh, we're gonna start. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Failure is the condition or fact of being insufficient or falling short, or of not achieving the desired ends. And so, yes, right, that's failure. And fear of failure means like it's the added layer of like, around all of that, because it's actually natural to be insufficient in something. It's natural to fall short of something, and it's natural to not achieve the desired ends. Like, that's the natural state of affairs. We call it learning, right? But when you're in the process of learning, it feels so dire to be insufficient at something. But you can't be sufficient at, I don't know, duck hunting the very first time you do it. You just can't be,
Mhm.
right? So you have to go through periods of insufficiency, because our society has labeled those periods of insufficiency as failure now. And there's this cultural thing around failure. Now we are afraid of insufficiency. In a sense, I'm realizing as I'm speaking to you that a fear of failure in some ways is related to like a fear of not being able to learn, which
Hmm.
makes sense based on the topic I want to bring up later. It's like, how have I not learned up to now how to disengage from sugar in the way that I want to? I don't know.
That's the topic that Brian wants to coach
We'll
on
get into
today
that.
is
Yes.
yes, we'll get into that. But as you were talking about, like, just the definition of, like, failure and fear of failure, I didn't actually expect this to come up today, but when we're worried about failing, we're, feeling like we're lacking something, and I do a lot of coaching on its opposite, which is having confidence, and the feeling of having confidence is the feeling that you are lacking nothing, and you don't have to be an expert or be actually, lacking, like, not lacking any skills to be confident. You just have to have the perception that you have the ability to learn, or that you have the skills, tools, strengths to be able to step your way towards wherever you want to go. And that's where confidence comes from. And so this fear of failure is really a direct opposite.
Yeah, it's like you don't even believe in your own ability to get it under control, or to
Yeah.
grasp it, or to master it, or to become proficient at whatever it is, right? In my case, it's a habit that I want to disengage from. If it was piano, it would be about mastery. But either way, it's like if I don't believe in my ability to XYZ, yeah, then that's going to be fear instead of. So I don't have any confidence in my ability to be off sugar permanently at this point, but I do have confidence in my ability to keep reducing it, which is what I've been doing. So I keep
Mhm.
going to that because as we talk, I know we're going to coach about that later. And so I'm drawing the
Uh-huh.
parallel now. I'm sorry, it can't be helped.
You're coaching yourself before I
Yeah.
even get to it, Brian. But this something you said made me think about how perfectionists specifically will sometimes after their first attempt at something feel like if I didn't get it right this first time, and I should have been able to get it the first time because I have high expectations of myself, I don't I then draw the conclusion that I cannot do this thing. I didn't do it the first time, so I can't do it. Not because they can't figure it out because they're usually very, smart, resourceful people, but because the frustration of not having just gotten it right away, like, fills their mind, they then struggle to have enough confidence to try again. So even though they can get things after a few tries, sometimes, like, this fear of failure will manifest as not trying a second time,
Mhm.
feeling, like, just, like, this crippling, like, doubt, and this belief that I cannot, which then stops you from really engaging with whatever it is you're trying to do and not fail at. Um, yeah. Does that make sense?
No, totally. And the affect labeling that we were talking about before, I feel like this is a perfect time to bring that up because it's like if you're stopped like that, right, and you're immobilized and you can't move
Mhm.
any further forward. It's like there's a study that I was telling Mo about before we got on. It's from the Journal of Psychological Science from 2012, and basically the crux bottom line of the study is that if you put words to your fear or anxiety in the moment that you're feeling it, it starts to go down. This happened in this study more in the group that did this affect labeling, is what they call it, putting words to your fear. It happened more in that group than it did in the group that was being distracted, or the group that was having traditional exposure therapy, or the group that was doing nothing at all, right? So, and like on measures of self-reporting, they had less fear. On measures of like how much sweat was on their skin, less. How much their heart rate went up, less. All from a practice of saying in that moment out loud, like, oh, so it would be like in the example you gave, I tried it once and I'm feeling the frustration. And that frustration is actually what makes me want to give up. Like the frustration and the thoughts that go along with it
Yeah.
that together makes me want to give up. But in that
But
moment,
affect labeling would be saying, I notice that I'm frustrated with myself. I notice that, like, I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to do this. And just noticing and labeling that
yeah.
helps kind of it essentially what's happening is you're separating yourself from the fear and the frustration,
Mhm.
which then means that it doesn't have as, like, hard of a hold on you. It can't control you as much because you're looking at it from the outside by naming it rather than being in it.
Exactly. Instead of it being your identity, oh, I'm a failure. I'm so frustrated. I'm easily frustrated. Like that's it. It's on you, right? Instead, it's like, oh, I'm feeling frustrated. I don't think I'm up to this task. Boom, it puts it out here as a
Yeah.
thing you can work with now, be in
Mhm.
relationship to instead of be overtaken by.
Yeah, it's a subtle difference, but a powerful one for sure.
Yeah, it's very powerful. I mean, within all of the mystical and wisdom traditions, they talk about this very thing that we're talking about now, and they call it something else. They call it the witnessing perspective, or the compassionate witness, or the
The
observer
watcher.
mind, the watcher. Yeah, but at the but it's the same idea here, where and clinically or in coaching and practice, you can just there are simple methods that you can use to just go boop away from the mind trap that we mostly live in. That's not the little simple methods doesn't mean you're on your way to enlightenment, but enlightenment is an aspirational goal for like whatever. Like what we're trying to do here is lessen suffering moment by moment, step by step, day by day,
Mhm.
and being able to detach from the mind identity and inhabit the
Mhm.
witness identity always leads to a little bit more of that calm and peace, because the witness identity, part of the hallmark of that witness identity is that it's always fine. It is untroubled. It's like an untroubled well within the human
Yeah.
being.
Mhm. So, would you like to try coaching, or is there any other pieces that you wanna talk about fear of failure before we dive in and do
Say one
some
more
live?
Yeah, one
Yeah.
more thing. So there are some common signs that can indicate to you if you're struggling with the fear of failure. Some of these will
Mhm.
overlap with other fears too, but this list taken in total can sort of encapsulate sometimes this fear of failure, fear of not being up to the task. I don't have the ability, that lack of confidence thing, anxiety, avoidance, feeling a loss of control, helplessness, and powerlessness. These are like the hallmarks of this fearing you don't have the ability,
Yeah.
this lack of confidence. And for me, the reason I wanted to bring this list up is because powerlessness in particular resonates in terms of my struggle with this habit of sugar that I no longer prefer to be the
Mhm.
habit in the same way that it is in my life right now. And it feels powerless because I've done this before. I've given up sugar before for months at a time, for weeks at a time, for days at a time. And, so it's not, my worry is not that I won't be able to achieve it actually, because I have achieved it other times. My worry is that I won't be able to make it last, because that's the part that I haven't done because I'm drinking lattes now. So it's like, clearly I'm in a cycle of like a relapse, like to put that heavy word on it. But it's like, so that's my powerlessness, is like how to make sure it sticks when I do get back off it again. Because right now I'm in a weaning process.
Brian, you're cracking me up. You're like such a coach that you can't not coach yourself.
But even you think I'm coaching myself, and I'm just telling you how lost I am. So please help me. Show me in what way I'm coaching myself right now.
Okay.
So it will stick.
Well, the first question I was gonna ask you to like get into the topic was what's something you're afraid to fail at, but you've already told us that. So
Okay.
so let's assume that we're only coaching for 10 minutes because that's about, how much time we have, 10, 15. What would be a positive shift that you'd like to make with this topic of wanting to succeed at
Okay.
reducing your sugar intake
Yeah.
that we could aim for?
Okay. Yeah. A useful shift would be more, I don't want to say hope, because hope is
That's a goal. That's
no, it's
fine.
not good. Hope is tricky. I don't want hope. Hope
You
can,
don't want hope.
no, I want the thing beyond hope. I want faith or certainty, that
Okay.
confidence, maybe going back to our paradigm from earlier. I want confidence
Yeah.
that even if it's not the current method I'm using of weaning, that's one of the methods one of these days will actually stick, and I will master the abstinence of sugar that I want to master ultimately. That's what I want. I would like to
Okay.
not feel so powerless, to not feel like I don't even know if that's possible, which is how I feel.
Yeah. So, in order for us to even begin to dig into this, I have to know, why do you want to completely cut out sugar, like in such a defined hard line way?
Okay, because
Why is that the goal?
sugar has no inherent value nutritionally. It's not even food.
Okay,
So
nutritionally.
yeah, and it's about nutrition
Yeah.
for me.
Okay.
I want to clean up some things, and getting off sugar is going to help that happen. And I have
Mhm.
been able to successfully, like right now, pretty much, I don't have sugar in my diet at all, except these Starbucks lattes and like the 1 or 2 grams that is in the organic tomato sauce that I get. But my health coach says that's fine. Like, I've been checking. So it's like, so it's just this, it's not sugar. It's like, because I'll eat berries and stuff too. So
Yeah.
just to be clear, it's the white powder refined stuff. Like, that's what I'm trying to get out. Like, I'm okay eating
Mhm.
strong. I'm okay eating a banana in my smoothie. It's not that.
Well,
It's,
I would hope so because you need fruit.
yeah. So it's refined sugar. And I think part of the reason I want to eradicate it so fully is, other than the tomato sauce, is because it is eradicated so fully, except in the lattes. And I find no real value in the lattes nutritionally. I also don't like the fact that I'm hooked on Starbucks, a corporation whose values are not aligned with my own. So there's like a other layer to it. And so it's like, because
Mhm.
I'm so close to this finish line, It's like I
Mhm.
want to step over it and have total freedom, and it's only this one little bastion of sugar hold on my foot. You know, it's like a little anklet of sugar around my, like, holding me into the sugar, but it's just one little chain
Yeah.
link left, and it's the lattes, and that's all. If I could just bust that chain link, I could walk away from sugar like happily and completely.
Yeah. So, something that I'm finding interesting is you've said, "I've done this before.
Yeah.
I've done this before." You've successfully done it a couple times where you stopped for a while,
Yeah.
and I'm interested in how, because 'cause I've done this before could be something that contributes to confidence, but it doesn't seem like it's your brain is, like, perceiving "I've done this before" as a success. It
No,
seems like
true, it's
you
not.
look back on it and you're like, "I did it, and then I stopped." And so every moment where you've had a success before, because at some point it ended, it seems like you have a tally in your mind of, like, the number of times that I stopped after stopping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are how many failures I've had. Those are the number of times that I have
Yeah, so
not won.
you're right, but it's not about the number of times, it's about the fact of its recurrence at all. Like, because I never understand the recurrence. And so that's where the powerlessness comes in. It wouldn't matter actually if
Okay.
I had been around this cycle 5 times or 500. What matters is that after the first time around, I'm mystified as to why I went back at all. Like, why do I go back when I don't
So
want
you
it?
said, "I never understand the recurrence."
But even as
What
I'm
was
saying that,
happening?
I do understand. It
Okay,
always,
so tell me.
it's something around comfort. It's always been like the last time I was off sugar for 4 solid months. That was last year when we went to our retreat. And after I
Yeah.
got back, I got tennis elbow and sprained my ankle in the same week. And so it
Mhm.
completely thwarted my gym and taekwondo routine. So I was just like down and out of sorts. And one day I was walking through the Target and I was like, I'm just gonna get a latte today. I don't care. It's, well, I deserve it. I'm feeling low, whatever. And I did, and that's all true. I did deserve it, and it's fine, like no big whoop. But it's sugar's got an addictive quality. And so, you know what I mean? So it's like it hits that part of my brain like a line of Coke, and boom, there I am, lattes every day, like 2 weeks in, and I was down that slippery slope. And now here I am, however many months later, a little less than a year later, and I'm on a new, I just gave into it for like 6 months because I couldn't deal with I couldn't climb that mountain again, so just
Mhm.
have it on. I was like trying to be gentle about it, but I was just like in it. But underneath the even being gentle about it is like there's a dissatisfaction with it. I don't want the habit, so even as a
Mhm.
self-gentle and not judge, it's still not, that's not enough. It's like I
Yeah.
don't love the habit and keep it forever. Like I want it gone still. Like not the part that holds the habit, but the habit, yes, gone if possible. And so
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think,
so your goal is to break the habit or change this habit of consuming sugar regularly. But there's also this undertone of, "I want to never consume it at all."
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
It's like you have 2 goals,
No,
and
the second, I never want to consume it at all is me. That's me emphatically speaking. But that goal is actually, I don't want it.
okay.
I don't want it to be anything regular where I don't have control. Like right now, when I go to get the lattes, it's like there's a compulsion to go. Right. I just want it to
Mhm.
be like, if I'm going to get a latte, it's my choice, and I feel empowered. It's like I don't want there to be fear of the sugar. I want it to be that it's like it's so incidental to me that it's whatever, and I don't get it all the time because I don't
Mhm.
need for it. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So, how do you talk to yourself when you do get a latte? When you go and get one?
Okay, it's different lately. So I'm in a, it used to be there was a voice of disappointment that would be, you're doing it again. Okay, well, it's fine. And then sometimes it would be meaner. Oh, you weak ass son of a bitch. You're a life coach. What a joke. So, like different voices at different times. But
Yeah.
lately, because, um, when I told you I've done this before, that cycle was always like a cold turkey, successful cold turkey for however many months or weeks, and then a snapback. That's what the pattern has always been. So this time
Mhm.
I'm trying to get off it again, but I'm taking a totally different approach for myself, which is
Mhm.
very, very slow weaning, which was like January, I didn't touch the habit at all. I just knew that I wanted to change it. And then in
Mhm.
February, I went down to mediums. And now I was doing larges. And now in March, I go between mediums and smalls, depending on the day.
Yeah.
I'm really gentle about it, how I feel. Like my goal is a tall, but if I get there and I want a medium, I have it and I'm fine with it. You know what I mean? And so I'm doing mediums, talls, mediums, talls. And then April is going to be all talls. And then May is going to be talls and skips. And June is going to be mostly skips. And then in July, I go away for a month. So I'm trying, and which will obliterate this. I won't have the lattes for a month anyway. And so it's like,
because you won't have access to Starbucks.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to take an approach. My old consciousness would have seen July coming and said, okay, July is my opportunity to get off it, all or nothing. And what would have happened is I would have had more than one a day. If, you know, I would have stockpiled lattes within myself between now and June and then tried to be off it in July. Probably it would have worked, but then there probably would have been a snapback eventually. And so I'm trying to do it differently this time, where by the time July rolls around, I feel really peaceful and settled into the new habit instead of like a cold turkey. Oh, I'm going to try a new thing. Let's hope. So that's where I'm at now. So now I talk to myself a little bit more gently. But even as I'm telling you this, the part that the part that niggles at me is that like I still feel the fear of like, okay, I will be free of it in August, but will I be free of it in October or next January or next March? Like, and I know I can't know the future, but like that's the fear. That's where the actual fear is. It's not that with whether I'll be able to get off it or not, because I have July and because I've done it before. So the confidence of getting off it is there. It's the confidence of staying off it that is not there at all.
So you have a plan and you've changed the way that you're going about it. And we know why your past attempts haven't worked. And part of it is because well, and I mean, there's plenty of research to suggest that if you try to cold turkey anything that happens to be a coping mechanism, which sugar is, right? I have nothing against sugar, to be clear. But when you have something that brings you comfort, that is the thing that you turn to cope with life, which everyone has these things. For some people, it's like being on your phone, it's TV, it's caffeine, it's whatever. It's a number of different things. Chocolate, that's one. Potato chips, that's one. There's an endless list. Like when you have something like that, if you cold turkey it, remove it, and don't replace it with any other self-soothing practices, the discomfort is too great and you will not be able to sustain it.
Wow, Mo, that's actually super helpful. Just you explaining. I mean, I like part of me knew that, but like hearing you say that to me, because I think my approach, my cold turkey approach, like it has worked for me on a number of other things in the past, but I don't think they were coping mechanisms. They were just habits that I was tired of. Like I gave up alcohol cold turkey in 2020, never looked back, didn't care, but I never really liked alcohol that much. I was just drinking it because my friends did, or just because, right? Like it was part of a routine, but not a comfort linked routine. And same with cigarettes in 2010, cold turkey, but it wasn't a coping thing. I was so tired of it by then, and it was only social. And so, so I had this belief that I am the type of person who can do things cold turkey, and cold turkey has worked for me. So I've been trying cold turkey with sugar, and I've been mystified why it isn't working. And I think that's where the disappointment comes in, because I'm like, how is sugar stronger than me, but alcohol and cigarettes aren't? Like, you know what I mean? Like it feels like in terms of my understanding of substances, like those two feel worse. You know, empirically. Sugar is probably actually more addictive scientifically. So even then, whatever. But like, it just
but it's not about your strength and it's not about your willpower. It's about the fact that you're a human being that has a need for comfort.
Exactly. That's the reframe that is very helpful to me, because the other two really were just strength and willpower, because there was no comfort involved. This was getting over something that I was done with.
And so when it comes to your goal of changing this habit of getting to a place where you don't feel like you have a dependency on sugar, and tell me where I'm wrong, I don't think you need to have like the confidence and trust that you will be able to quit it forever. You need to have the confidence and trust that you have the skills to comfort yourself and to support yourself in new ways as you're working yourself off of this coping mechanism.
Yeah, you're right. And it's so right, because the coaching is actually helpful. This has been helpful because it's clarified something for me, which is taking the fear away now. But what you're clarifying for me is the journey that I am currently on. And so it's like a part of me, or a part of the universe, has been guiding me correctly on this journey, but I didn't notice that it was different enough from the last journey for it
Yeah.
to dispel my fear. But talking through it with you has helped me see how this approach is actually drastically different and literally addressing the check marks, the check boxes you just outlined. Like throughout this time of weaning, I've restarted a new meditation practice that has actually,
Mhm.
the way I approach it is self-gentle, and now it makes me, I long to go do it because it's no longer this inapproachable thing. We can get into
Mhm.
that in some other episode if people are curious some other time about the meditation. But
Right.
the point is, it's no longer, it used to be something I tried to do to gain access to the mystical worlds. Like I was trying to, and now I actually do it to feel comfort. Like that's why I do it. I do it to settle in. And
Mhm.
so it's like the universe has provided me a comfort
Mhm.
mechanism right at the time when I'm taking this different, more comfortable approach to weaning off the
Yeah.
latte. So it's like it is helping me through in just the way we're describing, but I didn't notice. And so I still felt the fear. And now I can actually notice, like, oh, the universe has me on a new trajectory that is more solid. It actually is more grounded in research, like all these things that I had no idea. Like I just didn't,
Mhm.
So that, thank you actually for that.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And when you go about trying to break this habit, you already have a plan in place, but something else that you can also try out is like one of the most powerful ways of breaking a habit is to when you start to feel a craving or an inclination to engage in the habit, use that as a cue to do something else specific that also is comforting. So, that meditation piece, when you start to feel a craving, start with the meditation or start with something that is comforting and then see how it makes you feel. See if it reduces the craving at all. And if you can start inserting that other form of comfort, the need and the craving hopefully will not be quite as strong. And perhaps your willpower will be able to meet you there
Yeah,
rather than having it need to be all willpower.
exactly. Totally. No, that's great. And it, brings, it's like, the affect labeling too. It's like it notice, it's all awareness. Like it, because if I can catch it, I can say, oh, I'm having a craving now for the latte before just acting on it. And then in that awareness, I can go, okay, I'm going to go sit in my meditation, or I'm going to do one of the other
Yeah.
things. There's other things that are comforting too, but so
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, that's brilliant. I love it. So for all you guys too, right? Notice what you're feeling. Just call it out. Call yourselves out in the most gentle way possible because it takes the fear away.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Brian, does that feel complete?
It does, Mo. Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Yay. That was fun.
That was fun. Thank you. And I actually do feel a lot lighter. Like I don't have certainty about whether it'll stick forever, but I have more faith in the new path I'm on. Like that
Yeah.
I'm not doing the same old thing again. I think that's actually what it
Yeah.
was. Like it felt like
Mhm.
I've done this before. The reason it wasn't inspiring confidence is because the unsaid part of that was, is this the same old shit I've done before?
Yeah.
It hasn't worked. Right. And so now I feel differently. I feel like I'm actually doing a whole bunch of brand new shit. So thank you.
Yay! Awesome, awesome. So, are there any other things that we wanted to talk about with fear of failure to kind of wrap up for our friends here?
I'll say one last thing, and it's the Adam Grant piece that I was mentioning to you before. Adam Grant is a sort of a thought leader, and I ran across a quote of his recently, and it ties into this. Like if you're in that perfectionist place, or if you have the fear that you can't do it, you can't accomplish it, he has a different perspective on happiness, and he says happiness is found in that range between what is acceptable or good enough and what is ideal or perfect. And the people who actually enjoy happiness in their lives are the ones who know, hey, this is good enough, I can put this out in the world, or this is good enough, this is the best it's going to get, right? And they can enjoy the thing as soon as it
Yeah.
lands in that range of good enough, rather than not enjoying it until it gets to be perfect. Or like
Mhm.
for us, that like those of us that want to show up and help in the world, like putting your product out there, putting your course out there, putting your offering out there when it's good enough, immediately makes it valuable to the people who could use it, learn from it, like get something out of it. But if you wait and wait and wait and wait till it's perfect, we know that perfect never comes. Then the thing you've been creating, that you're laboring, your labor of love to make perfect, it actually has no value because no one sees it, and it has no value to you because you haven't completed the loop of like, I've completed it and I've put it out to the world. So it has no value until it's doing the thing you want it to do. So if we can practice embracing good enough, embrace
Mm.
acceptable.
And what's coming to mind for me when you say that is do not discount or miss the fact that when you put something out that is imperfect, you're going to be so much quicker to have like measurable ways to learn and improve whatever it is and increase its value. And it's the same thing for anything that you try to learn. If you try it and you let yourself be imperfect at it, that is how you get good.
Yeah.
You can't get good without being imperfect first. And if you can let yourself do it, no matter how bad you are,
Yeah.
that's how you don't fail. The only way you fail is if you don't try, if you don't give yourself permission to start.
It's like the cliches, they're always so true.
I know.
And
I
they lose their
know.
meaning. Like the only way to fail is to not try. Sorry, it's lame, guys, but it's true. It's the truth. It's just true. So
Yeah.
it's true, even if it feels meaningful to you. So meaningless to you. So fail your way to proficiency because it's the only way to proficiency after all.
Mhm.
Right on. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We love you all.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Mo, thank you for that excellent coaching. I really appreciate it. So
Thank
we
you,
will be back
Ryan.
next week for episode 5. We will tackle another fear and we will get into it then. Until then, be hot, be messy, and be blessed. Much love, everybody. Thank you.